I think we're on air.
All right, good to be back with you again. I'm really enjoying and looking forward to these conversations. And last time we talked, we hit a little bit on, you kind of talked about the two sides of the equation, and we hit a little bit on the marketing side. And with New Year's coming up, New Year's resolutions is really an awesome time to be a coach. Lots of opportunity. So can we dive into that a little bit today?
Yeah, I want to talk about what we're doing to help support coaches to be as successful as possible in January. And all these people are coming with so much energy to improve themselves in that month. I mean, a lot of people tell me business doubles in January. So I want all the coaches to be ready, and the people that have that energy that are looking to do self-improvement, they're hearing about, read this book, or they're hearing about listen to this podcast, or they're hearing about, go to this class. And I want to make sure they hear about you and your coaching business, because your coaching business is so much better than any of those other things. And so they just all that we need to happen is they need to hear it from you, and we're going to help you do that work. Prepping for January, and then help get you featured and get you more visible once January hits.
Okay, so I'm going to draw you way back again. I remember one time we met in the office when it was in San Francisco, and you shared, like you call it a pep talk, I've heard you say it a few times, about how important marketing is to coaches, and really challenging us to think about marketing maybe in a different way than we have before. Will you share a little bit of that?
Yeah. The pep talk, it starts with marketing as your moral obligation. So many of us actually, part of the resistance, the emotional resistance to marketing, is actually a distaste for marketers. And so what I do is I drill down for people, where is that distaste? And it always turns out the distaste is for people marketing bad products. It's like sort of the used car salesman trying to sell you a lemon. Of course, that's not what we're proposing. We're proposing that you have this life-changing product, and these other people with much worse products, or like snake oil even, are out yelling you, out promoting you, and the world is a worse place for it. And so I always say, if you're starting from a place of having a high quality product, then having done that work, it's now your moral obligation to bring that product to the world. But people are not going to hear about it unless you do that work. So it's sort of like helping people through one of the hurdles to become a better marketer, and it's that emotional hurdle. And it's an emotional hurdle that I had, because I was always a product person. Before I was a coach, I always wanted to be building things, and I was really resistant to telling people what I had built. And I got over it. And that's why you're here. You heard about Coach.me from me or from someone in the community. And it just wasn't enough to keep it secret. So that's the big part of the pep talk.
Love it. Love it. I love it. I love the marketing as moral obligation. If you really believe in what you're doing, I think that's such a true sentiment. And it challenges us to ask ourselves that question, right? Do we really believe in what we're doing? Have we spent the time to drill down our coaching offerings so that we're confident that we can help people, right? We've had some conversations. I've had some conversations in the last week that drew me back to starting with coaching flossing, right? which was such a neat way to get started, frankly. And I think, we've talked about those simple habits, but if you're not sure where to start, we can always keep drilling down until something that we know we can positively impact people on. And doing that work first is a piece of the process, right?
Yeah.
But then once we've done that, we can turn on the rocket fuel.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, this is kind of the subtlety of what I think we're going to announce, and what we're going to get into is that, what are all of the pieces that make up marketing? And it's actually, I led with, it's telling people what you're doing. But actually the first step is being able to describe what you're doing, and do it in a really specific way, which again is actually, pretty hard. And
yeah.
And we've done that as a group before. We've done that exercise of defining, what we call what for whom. What is my product and who is it for? And don't say everybody. And that exercise is so much better to do with a group because you have an audience to reflect back to you, like, I'm not getting it, or I am getting it. I'm like really energized by your pitch. So all of that work that we want to do that together as a group.
And I love that we're going to start with that. And another thing I want to add is that sometimes we have to revisit that, right? Just because you do that exercise once doesn't mean that like you've done it forever necessarily, right? At least that's what I've found. I think I'm maybe on my third or fourth iteration of kind of who I think I am as a coach. So when you get to that feeling of where marketing gets hard, it could be that something has changed in that cycle and we need to redefine it. So tenured coaches that may think they have that figured out, this may be a good opportunity to revisit it. And if you're new, certainly starting with this makes everything else easier, right? If you try to skip ahead to the other pieces of marketing without doing this, of course it's hard. And so we're gonna jump in and talk a little bit about that.
So should we say concretely, this is what we're thinking of doing?
Yeah.
For the next 2 weeks, we're doing daily marketing exercises as a group so that we can learn together, so that we can hold each other accountable, so that we can give each other feedback. And technically how we're going to do that is we're going to have a meeting time, and we're going to have that meeting time be video based. So if you can make the meeting time, it's great. You can have live people helping you, and then we're going to support it with Slack. And when we've done this in the past, like half the people would show up during the meeting time and have a lively conversation. And then, people like you, Kendra, who have, really high intensity day jobs, or, just can't make it for whatever reason, there's this base of discussion to work with throughout the rest of the day in terms of getting it. So like every day we'll have a very focused exercise, and we'll have 10 of those to prep you for January. And this doesn't need to be done in video. I'll just release the schedule of events for everyone. So that's one thing. And then in January, we're looking, if you do that work of, how do you market yourself? We're looking for 20 coaches to feature, where we want to do a newsletter featuring you, and office hours where I interview you, and people that are interested in hiring you can come talk to you and get to know you. Because this is something that you've said to me a lot recently is, people don't hire you after first meeting. They hire you after exposure to you. And so we just want to make sure that everyone gets comfortable with you, so that they do feel comfortable hiring you as their coach long term. So it's two things. It's 2 weeks of prep for January, so accountability trainings, I guess, maybe the best way to say it, and then a whole month of featuring coaches in the Coach.me community.
So I love it. So what's cool about this is we're putting together really what we've learned in multiple years, and it's amazing how fast time flies. I think we're like on year 3 or 4. I don't know. I have to like go back and look, but I think this is at least 3. Thinking about my own life, I think this is at least the 3rd New Year's. Maybe even the 4th, because I may have tried something personally before then. I can't remember, but it is as a coaching community. I think we learned a lot in this last cycle. There was a lot of experimenting, right? And now we're ready to put a lot of those best practices pieces together. And so this, I'm going to call it like marketing boot camp, right? So for anybody that's new to coaching and launching coaching, man, your timing couldn't be better, because these strategies that we're going to use, yes, New Year's is a great opportunity, but the techniques and the strategies that we're using, they're really pretty evergreen. They work all the time, so there's no reason to just think this is a one and done, but it really is just like the digital certification shares what we know about how to keep a client, right? How to get started and how to keep a client. This is going to share all that we know now in this moment about how to attract clients that are a good fit for us. So and I always say can't help when the calendar helps us. So it certainly helps us in this case.
That phrase, marketing boot camp, just like got me so excited. That's what we're doing. Exactly. The lessons that we're teaching are things that, we've tested out over the last year, but they're hidden. They're hidden in a Slack discussion. Sometimes they're hidden in the wiki. Like even I forgot that we had detailed email by email, word by word, scripted examples of how to do client prospecting in your own network. Like I always tell people they should be prospecting before they move to Twitter, but I had forgotten how good our tutorial was for that. So all of that stuff, it needs to be pulled and collected. It's going to be put together in the boot camp. By the time you see this video, we're going to be calling it the boot camp. And yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be really big for all the coaches.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit again about structure. So there'll be a visual component for folks that can't attend, because there's really something special, especially for those of us when we coach, we're often alone, right? One of the things about this profession is that you can work from anywhere. Well, there's some downsides to that too. So it's a lot of fun to get together and really see each other. So for those that can make it, we want to encourage that, but it really will be captured in such a way so that if somebody's revisiting it that evening or early the next morning, whatever their work time might be, that they can certainly participate and take advantage of all the lessons and conversation. But they do need to be a part of Slack, right? We do need to make sure that's the key component, that they're familiar with that as an interface.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, that's the plan.
All right, sounds good. So along with this, we'll launch the details, and then we get started on Monday. Is that about right?
Monday. It'll be Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Trying to aim to have it work as a lunch activity for most people in the United States or Canada, and as an evening activity if you're in Europe.
Beautiful. Well, let's kick it off. I'm really looking forward to this.
All right. Once again, thank you, Kendra, for putting these together. I find them very valuable, and everyone should know this was Kendra's idea originally, and I was like, yeah, let's run with it, and it was a great idea. So thank you, and I will see you all in Slack.
It's fun. Thank you.